Okay, so I'm awful at intros. Let's just get to the point. Protogens are the best starting fursona, or just fursona in general, for most furries. And here's why. I swear all the wolf and fox fursonas are going to have a fit with me. I hope that wasn't an innuendo. But I was just sort of thinking, because it's nearing the, I guess, 3-year anniversary since I decided to join the furry fandom. You know, I might have been, I guess, a low-key furry for the longest time, and it was thanks to Digimon that happened, but that's a separate video. But like late February, after Anthem New England, I decided to say fuck it to what everyone thought and became a furry. Full on. It was awesome. But I started to realize, and I even realize to this day, that one of the biggest issues that members of the furry fandom have is making a fursona. You know, it's great. You expected this to be a semi-serious and fun video, but we're talking about issues with creating a fictional character. God damn it, my priorities are great, aren't they? You know, I could have just said, oh, the members of the furry fandom have the issue of socializing. When you get the choice of becoming a furry, it's either you become a furry or you gain the ability to read the room. You can't choose both. It's one or the other. I mean, take the whole fursona making issue from me. The guy whose main character is literally a ripped off Digimon, and his personal fursona he bought for $40. What else can I say after that? So that's why with this video, I wanted to talk about why protogens are probably the best fursona options for really anyone, whether you just start as a furry or you're a longtime member. If you're not really fully attached to the whole fursona idea, but you want something to identify yourself, I'd say a protogen is the best bet. Like even taking it from the starting standpoint. Now, sometimes you just don't really want to take that dive down the rabbit hole of the furry fandom. You want to start with something that's a bit more, I guess, tame, more comfortable, more so mainstream. You might want something that people will look at and won't assume, ew, gross furry. Which then again, why are you associating with those people to begin with? That's your fault, not mine. But in terms of protogens, I'd say they're a really good, I guess, borderline mainstream fursona. Like even looking at it from an outside furry perspective, which looking at it from the inside perspective, they're 110% furry. Ever since they were created years back, they're so widespread now. And it's all thanks to our technology-based society that people actually have an interest in them. You know, the term furry is more so relating to geek culture, whether we want to admit it or not. We're all geeks, we're all nerds, we have an interest in fictional universes and characters that we create. Nothing wrong with that. There are plenty of other universes and hobbies that have that. But when you look at protogens, the first thing I think of is sci-fi based cosplay. If I were to take into the perspective of a normal guy who's never seen or heard of furries before, or might have heard a bit about it and, you know, has some minor fears maybe about it for whatever reason, you know, I look at protogens and I see, wow, that's really cool. What was your inspiration for this type of character? So there's that immediate, you know, just geek interest rather than the furry interest. Let's take the example of a circle chart. You got this circle, but this circle, you've got the furry fandom. And we're keeping it as a black circle to represent the black void that just sucks you in, and you're never allowed to leave ever again. And you have this circle, which is protogeners. So we're going to make that slightly smaller than the furry fandom, because as much as protogens have a big impact, they're not everywhere in the furry fandom. In fact, foxes and wolves and really just regular fictional characters are a lot more common there. So you got these two circles, furry fandom and protogens. If we were to look at this from the furry perspective, this is where protogens lie in the furry fandom. You know, you got that small percentage that doesn't really base around furries, that might have a bit of that interest, but all of it is pretty much 99 to 100% is in the furry fandom. You know, even the creator of the protogen species is in the furry fandom. Now, if we were to look at it from the outside perspective, or at least what people would assume when they're seeing a protogen for the first time, this is more so what it will look like. Maybe. This is assumption more than anything else, but looking at it, you see more of the sci-fi and geek perspective on the outside of the furry fandom, because people keep forgetting furries are geeks too. It's a geek culture. We all love it. None of us shower. Even though I religiously shower, okay? The only god that I worship is my shower head, okay? From the outside perspective, I'd say that this is a fair assumption of what the protogen is with regards to furries. Without the furry perspective, and you'd see it more as a sci-fi, cosplay, robotic, geek culture character. And that's the best example that I can give about like protogens just not lying in there. So for those that look at the whole furry or protogen thing it's a lot more of a sci-fi comfortable feel. But for those that are looking to become a furry that don't really want to delve into that whole aspect of creating a fursona and are a bit scared with what they want to be, a protogen is a good and comfortable start. Because, you know, when you're making a fursona, most of the time it's going to be a fox where a rainbow just threw up on them. But in this case, with protogens, as much as people might be against me saying this, the whole rule set behind making one is genius. Now, you can bash me all day you like for, you know, praising the whole rule and copyrighted fursona aspect. To an extent, I'll admit, it is stupid. It is so dumb. You copywriting a character and adding rules to it is just like, what? But the way I look at it, because I've talked with the creator of Protogens about this before, is they have the rules in place for Protogens, for like what you can add, how much you can add, not so that the Primogen species is unique and special and look at me, I'm amazing. It's more so that when you're making a protogen, it doesn't turn into a fucking mess. Like, I'm gonna be honest, if none of the rules were in place for protogens and people were allowed to make whatever the hell they wanted, you wouldn't even recognize that it's a protogen anymore. Like, the only one that I know that is good at fursona design and character design is Zillion. And look at what he's done for, I guess, protogens. They're amazing. So, like, think about it that way. The rules aren't there to sort of enforce the whole protogen aspect. It's there to at least keep things from not going insane. So we don't have some mix of like 5 different fursonas and it ends up being like a fursona salad or something like that. I think that's the word people use. God, people are gonna hate me for defending the whole protogen thing. I get it, the rules are dumb sometimes, and there are people that go over the top on enforcing it and being like, you are blacklisted. What? But besides the whole rule thing, the protogen is such a good and comfy start for those that just are really scared of delving too far down the rabbit hole with the furry thing. For those that want to take it slow and get used to the whole thing. Like, think of it this way. Instead of starting large, like I did with going to a big furry convention, I sort of started small by going to a local furry convention with friends there, whatever. Apply the same aspect to fursonas. You could start with protogens and just sort of delve into that sub-community, but you start small like that and invest in the protogen community, and then from there you dabble more so in the furry fandom. It's pretty neat doing it that way, and it's a lot less stressful, let me tell you that. So it's for those that want to take a partial step and small steps entirely into the furry fandom. That's completely okay, and that's why, for me, protogens are a good starting fursona. Now, why they're more than just a good starting fursona, but amazing fursonas entirely, is look at how the market is right now for making fursuits. Obviously, you know, I'm not going to bash anyone for making fursuits or whatever, but 3D printing is so much more accessible to everyone. It's insane. As someone who majored in mechanical engineering, seeing how easy it is to 3D print something, especially something that's already made for you, like the whole helmet model that I think even Zillion made and posted for anyone to use, it's so easily accessible. You can literally send it to a company or 3D print it yourself, and you have the base for a protogen fursuit head. It is so easy for those that want to take that step in making a fursuit. I'd argue that making a protogen head is a lot easier than making a regular fursuit head. You can call me out on Twitter later, but let me explain. So you don't really need the whole, I guess, sewing aspect and understanding how foam works and carving it properly and worrying about it being, you know, lopsided to one side. With 3D printing, or at least with computer-aided machining and design, a lot of it is already sort of done for you. It's pretty easy. I mean, I've seen, let me see, there's a tutorial somewhere. I'm checking YouTube. Fursuit head protogen. Yeah, like Mugiwara cosplay. I know they're very known. I know they're very much known for making, you know, fursuit tutorials online, but they have like 2 protogen fursuit head tutorials, and even J-Ting F, the guy who's so known for making the coolest protogen designs. There are 3 tutorials literally right here. Hold on, I'm sharing my screen. Sharing, where the fuck? OBS, obey me. So just a simple look, and you already have 3 to 4 tutorials from 3 different companies. Even Thunderhowl did one on how to make protogen fursuit heads. One doesn't even require 3D printing. You could use the entire thing out of foam if you wanted to. Like, these are strictly just 3D printing, a bit of soldering if you want to do the electrical engineering stuff. But that's besides the point. A lot of it is a lot easier than you think. If you have an interest in engineering or really just anything to do with science, technology, and just creating something, protogens are for you. That could even go on something like a resume for experience in that. So if people look at protogens the same way and have that same, I guess, drive to make fursuits or characters or fursonas, then it'll hopefully involve them more in the STEM program. I could totally title this video, Protogens Make Furries Smarter. And it'd work too. Wonder when Elon Musk is going to be a furry. God, he'd love this place, but I don't know if we'd want him. So if what I said hasn't really sold you so far, think about it this way. Protogens are the PS4s that can run Cyberpunk on 60 FPS. And that, my friends, is why Protogens are the best Fursonas to exist in the furry fandom.